Okay, so for today, the first topic is on public health ethics, which is very relevant with what's happening in Sungai Buloh at the moment. Okay, when we talk about public health, people always think that it's about only about hospital, clinics, and everything, but it's actually everything regarding our life. So example. Our MCO has affected our business and economy. Our hotel pun dah affected. Okay. Our life, tak boleh pergi jogging, everything semua lah. So public health has huge implication in our life. Okay. So for today, at the end of this lecture, you should be able to understand what is public health ethics, understand the moral theories behind public health ethics, know the controversies in public health ethics, and apply the concepts in making healthcare policies. Right, so previously you have learned basically the 4 principles of biomedical ethics: autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. Dah nak muntah dah. Okay, but for today we are taking a different route from this. Okay, as you know, when you become a doctor and you have a patient, there is a relationship that we call as patient-doctor relationship. You have to respect patient autonomy by protecting their confidentiality. Everything you want to do, you have to obtain consent. You have to do good to the patient, protect the interests, make sure there is no harm happening to the patient, and ensure that you are being fair to the patient. Okay, but in certain cases, the doctor on the same side, on the flip side, also have a duty to the third party. Okay, so in simple terms, instead of maintaining a relationship with the patient, doctor also have a relationship to the public. Okay, so in simple terms, it's main kayu tiga lah. Okay, so the patients often are very surprised. The relationship we have with them can be overall, and the doctor can respect the duty to the public. Okay, so in certain instances, doctors are required to breach patient confidentiality, and this is permitted by law. Okay, and kita boleh treat and admit patient even without consent. For those who have done psychiatric posting, you will notice that certain individuals that have tendency to harm others can be treated involuntarily in the psychiatric hospital. Okay, and for child act, walaupun parents tak bagi consent, but if the parents is found to be abusive to the child, we as a doctor, we can overrule and treat without consent. Alright, so for today, these actions are against patients' interests and against their wishes lah. Okay, so the question is this ethical? Okay, so for today, we will learn how this can be ethical. How can a doctor betray their patient to fulfill the duty to the third party, to the public? And this is what we call as public health ethics. Okay, so that is the brief introduction. This is the formal definition lah. Okay, but to keep things simple, public health ethics is something that instead of considering an individual punya perspektif, kita beri lebih berat kepada majority. Okay, walaupun in terms of healthcare, we are aware that as a doctor we must respect patients' autonomy, but on occasions kita kena pentingkan majority. Okay. Okay. Alright. So what is public health ethics? It is closely related to infectious disease ethics, as contagious diseases affect large number of people. For example, STD, like in this picture you have syphilis. Pandemics, it can affect numerous people at the same time, and highly contagious diseases such as smallpox, Ebola, etc. Okay. and there's no clear boundary between personal health versus public health, yeah, as walaupun this individual is one person, but if you have enough red people, these red people can be causing public health concern as well. Okay. All right, so public health ethics often capture the conflict between individual and the society. For example, in the pandemic situation, ada orang yang nak exercise their rights, yeah, they want autonomy. Dia tak nak pakai mask. So what they wrote, masks are for villains. My body is my choice. Yeah, this is a mind controlling device. Okay, dia nak autonomy tanpa fikirkan consequences to the others. That's why if we apply the public health ethics, yeah, although you have the rights to, I mean, if you want to die, please, by all means, please do so, but your behavior is affecting others. So we have to apply the public health ethics. Kita luluskan undang-undang kena ikut SOP. Okay, your personal opinion, your personal choice does not matter. Okay, because your behavior will harm a majority of people. Okay, and this is for the sake of public good. Okay, all right, so public health ethics, the capture is individual versus population. Okay, of course yang lagi ramai akan menang. Okay, all right, so let's see some example of public health ethics application. All right, for example, there is a high incidence of spina bifida in UK. Okay, so in which it is due to the low level of folate during early pregnancy. Yeah, the patient are always advised to take folate early, even before conception. Yeah, sebelum we nak plan ada anak, we would recommend, especially diabetic mothers, yeah, yang pernah ada baby cacat or something, we always recommend them to plan ahead and take folic acid before you even have you conceive. Okay, but some women, they do not realize they are pregnant until it's too late. Okay, some patient we already give but they forget to take. Okay, some cakap ni vitamin biasa tak payah makan. Okay, so UK has the highest number of spina bifida in Europe, which is affecting nearly 1,000 pregnancies per year. All right, so how does public health ethics has been implemented? Yeah, so it has been proposed that the tepung, flour in the UK to be supplemented with folate. Okay, this is evidence based on the data from other countries. Yeah, so Brazil, Canada, Chile, Costa Rica, Iran, Jordan, Peru, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and USA. Bila dia supplement the flour in with folate, the number of spina bifida has significantly decreased. Okay. However, it is not without drawback. Banyak bakery yang protest, yeah, because their business will be affected because the flour is not the same. Okay, and ada orang mention about there is a risk, yeah, if you supplement folate to your diet so much, yeah. For example, yeah, when you have increased intakes of folate, yeah, it can worsen the vitamin B12 deficiency absorption in the elderly. Yeah, so this is something that you have to consider. Okay, you nak prevent spina bifida untuk new babies, but your plan will affect the elderly population. So they have to sacrifice the elderly population. So now the UK are supplementing the folate in their tepung. Alright, so this is the implication of public health. Yeah, selalunya when we want to do something in public health, we have to sacrifice some groups of individual. Okay, so the basis of the public health ethics, yeah, the moral theories, yeah, you have learned this in year 3, I think, in the early year. Okay, So this can be your revision juga, right? So the theories that is closely related to public health ethics is known as the Utilitarian Ethics, ya, yang diintroducekan oleh dua orang bawah ni. Okay, so the principle of utilitarian is they want to produce greatest good for the greatest number. Okay, nak buat kebaikan kepada number yang paling banyak. Okay, so public health ethics mostly adopt utilitarian principles. Okay, how do we simplify this? Okay, basically what we do, you ada action, you do something, then you ada outcome. Okay, utilitarian, okay, ataupun consequentialism, okay, their focus is on the consequence. They want the best outcome for the majority of people. Okay, a bad action, according to them, can be ethical if it produces good for the most number of people. Okay, good outcome for the most number of people. Alright, so that is the basis of utilitarian. Dia nak benefit kepada ramai orang for the most number of people. Right? Okay, ini berbeza dengan the principles in deontology. Okay, deontology, they stick to the moral rule books. There is no excuses, no exceptions. For example, according to deontology, lying, killing, and anything negative is wrong no matter what is the reason. Okay, this is introduced by Immanuel Kant. Okay, so deontology, they focus on the action. Dia tak fokus on the outcome. He is against public health ethics. Yeah, to put it that simple lah. So you tak boleh focus on the outcome. Yeah. I think you all are familiar with this term. Okay, sorry. Matlamat tidak menghalalkan cara. And this is an example of deontology principle. The consequence, the outcome tidak menghalalkan cara you buat. Kalau you buat benda jahat, you are still considered as jahat no matter how good the outcome is. Okay, so utilitarian principle is typically more favorable, lebih popular versus to the deontology, sebab utilitarian dia benefit lebih ramai. Deontology, some people say is outdated. Okay, dah tak berapa pakai dekat dunia moden. Okay, but in reality, why do we teach these two principles to medical students? Sebab utilitarian is not perfect. Dia ada potential bias dia. Okay, so the problem with utilitarianism, there are tendencies, sebab you nak benefitkan majority, you breach human rights. Okay, for example, in this case, there are the 5 patients waiting for organs. Okay, ada patient waiting for the heart, patient waiting for the lungs, kidney, and liver. Alright, and at the same time, there is someone that is completely useless, yang tidak berguna kepada society. If we follow the utilitarian, we should sacrifice him and take his organs to save the life of 5 other people. So this is the problem with utilitarian. Okay, dia sangat fokus kepada majority, kadang-kadang dia buat benda yang unethical as well. So the theories in deontology has a role to stop this. Okay, sorry. Okay, and this is not something new. For example, in China, those who are going to be executed is going to be the main source of organs in China. Okay, this is a serious breach of human rights. Okay, so the principles of deontology have given rise to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Tak boleh ada torture, banyak lagi lah. Okay. Okay, another problem with utilitarianism, there is a bias. Although utilitarianism dia minta you focus on the majority, but it becomes difficult when your family members or close friends are involved in the situation. Okay, mana sanggup nak sacrifice own family members. Okay, some example that I can give you. Okay, for example, ada nowadays viral yang 3 hari quarantine. Okay, this is an example of bias. Yeah, ada yang kena punish very harshly, ada yang tak kena punish harshly. This makes they use the utilitarian arguments lah. For example, this one they argued that it's going to benefit the country economic wise, but it's not based on science. There is always a bias tendency. You enact the law untuk make sure to promote the safety of the majority, but somehow you bias when it happen to your own group of colleagues. Yeah, right. And another problem with utilitarian, because utilitarian they always predict sahaja. We cannot foresee everything. Yeah, everything will not go according to the plan. So, for example, what we have following the state election in Sabah. Yeah, alright. So the plan is that because kita dah tak banyak case at the time, so the consideration was not to quarantine everyone, and this has become a serious, a fatal mistake to our plan so far. Okay, because we think that it is not necessary, but our prediction is the problem. The essence of utilitarian is that you cuma merancang, tapi outcome dia you can never control. Alright. Okay. So public health ethics and healthcare policies are always interrelated. Okay. Of course, when we talk about medical doctors, yeah, you are treating your patients and you have a duty to the third party. Okay, but most of the time, all right, the policy makers, their primary duty is to the public. Yeah, and most ethical issues in public health arises at the level of policy making. Therefore, health ethics can be conceived, yeah, predominantly as ethics for the public health ethics policy, public health policy. Okay, your prime minister, the law that he make, yeah, your minister of health, your DG, the ruling or the law that they make is a public health policy that has impact for the public health. Okay. So the typical public health ethics issues include, yeah, legitimacy of coercion. For example, you nak paksa vaccination, yeah. When is it permissible to quarantine or isolate individuals? Yeah. Okay. You also the policy of individual privacy versus public health goals. Yeah. Right. Okay. For example, coercion, ya, dalam with the current COVID, ada yang kena paksa quarantine tanpa sukarela, ya. So and then the ruling is berapa lama nak quarantine, ya. Ada yang 3 hari, ada yang 10 hari, ada yang 7 hari, ada 14 hari, ya. So berapa lama nak kena quarantine. Okay. So at the policy level, ya, bila you jadi menteri, bila you jadi Perdana Menteri or DG of Health, you have to make a policy, and these are the 3 things that you have to consider. Okay, what is the expected utility? Ya, apakah kebaikan umum kepada policy based on this policy? Apa kesan kepada autonomy of patient and some conception of justice? Ya, you kena consider. Alright. And public health ethics policy making is fundamentally about these three values lah. You kena consider. You nak benefit kepada majority, tapi tak boleh lah sampai kekang dia punya liberty sangat. Then you have to be fair to them. Alright. Okay. Cepat pula. Alright. So these are some concepts in public health ethics. Yeah. So as you know, the old concept you are familiar with, okay, some of you already experienced it, okay, you kena paksa, okay, the old concept of public health. You kena paksa quarantine, you kena paksa get treatment, dan you tak boleh keluar, okay, if you keluar, you kena saman and you boleh kena penjara, okay. But public health ethics is not only on coercion, paksaan, there are new concepts to public health ethics. For example, you bagi incentives, you punish dia ambil duit sikit, okay, you denda dia ataupun you charge dia extra, okay, and then there is a nudging concept, okay, and then there is compensation. We will look at one by one. Okay, coercion is the old methods, yeah, but it's still very popular and typically popular in third world countries, yeah. Alright, so paksaan. Okay, we have this case, yeah, very famous case. This is Mrs. MM, who worked as a cook and was suspected to be an asymptomatic carrier of typhoid fever. Okay, I have never seen typhoid fever. Okay, but this is almost a disease that is almost eradicated due to our vaccination policy. Typhoid vaccine is taken for those is given to those who are handling food, yeah, tukang masak or anyone yang working in restaurants or cafe, semuanya kena ambil typhoid injection. Okay, so this Mrs. MM, dia pergi mana sahaja, dia kerja kat mana restoran, semuanya ada case typhoid. Okay, at the same time there was no antibiotics during that time and people suspected, yeah, she is not confirmed, suspected sahaja, and she was quarantined, okay, but later released on the condition that she do not work as a tukang masak anymore. Okay, but as usual, the public is always degil. She continued to work as a cook, okay, and there was further typhoid outbreaks. Alright, she was subsequently dikurung dalam tempoh masa yang lama. Okay, but if we use the utilitarian principles, yeah, it is ethical to kurung her because this is to prevent the spread of infectious disease. Okay, but unfortunately, the ethical issue is she was quarantined for 26 years. Ya, lama tu, eh. Boleh buat medik at least 5 kali. Alright? Okay, so the question is this really ethical for you to quarantine someone more than nearly 30 years? Yeah, this is the case of Typhoid Mary. Yeah, she died masa in quarantine. Okay, so utilitarian tends to enroach the human rights. Yeah, kesian kat dia. Okay. So coercion is the old concept in public health. Yeah, you infringe, you paksa individual punya, you kurangkan individual liberty for the benefit of others. Okay, some example that can be applied. Okay, should individual be coerced, yeah, to vaccinate their children? Yeah, now we have so many anti-vaccination movement. Now with the new COVID vaccine, people are very doubtful. Banyak yang dah takut nak ambil vaksin, even for a medical doctor. Doktor pun takut nak ambil vaksin, as you know. Okay, maybe we need a law to paksa. Kalau you tak ambil vaksin, you boleh masuk penjara. That is a concept of the public health. Alright. This is the clearest example of infringement of individual liberty in order to protect public health, which consists of quarantine and isolation of individual who has been exposed or infected by a certain diseases. Okay, the coercion in COVID that you can see, yang positif kena isolate, yang contact pun kena quarantine. Okay, you memang tak confirm pun dapat disease, you tak confirm pun positif, tapi you kena juga paksa quarantine. Okay, so that coercion is very enroaching lah. Some individual would say this is kejam, okay, but that is necessary for the public health supaya orang lain tak affected. Okay, so very menyusahkan everyone lah. Okay, alright. So another example of coercion, yeah. For example, Australia, kalau you tak vaccinate your child, dia tak dapat subsidi untuk child support. Yeah, so parents have to pay extra if they do not vaccinate their children, and people have perceived this as a form of coercion but soft. Okay, you bagi choice, you tak paksa, you boleh tak ambil vaksin, tapi you kena bayar lebih nanti if anything happen to your child in the future. Okay, so the old concept is coercion, the new concept is incentive, disincentives, nudging help, and compensation. Alright, so incentives just like it is, yeah. You bagi duit so that people behavior is beneficial to the public health. You encourage that behavior. For example, families might receive a cash payment for completing a course of immunizations. However, the use of incentive is on its own is also problematic. Yeah. Okay, for example, the controversy of paying students to study. Why should we pay them? It's their duty. Because people say that it is your duty to protect public health. Yeah, so we should not be paying them at all. Okay, so this is the same argument that you see that people use when they disagreeing with the proposal to abolish the PTPTN punya loan. Okay, so it is your duty to study, and we should only incentivize people yang top scorer and not everyone. Okay. Okay, the other concept is disincentives. All right. Some has proposed that the introduction of a tax or financial penalty for individual who could easily contribute to a worthwhile public health objective but fail to do so. Okay. In other words, the idea is to punish those who fail to fulfill a duty. Okay, maybe kita cukaikan those who fail to vaccinate their children. Okay, the tax would discourage people from free riding our herd immunity lah. Okay, other disincentive is such as for lifestyle diseases. For obesity, kita ada sugar tax, soda tax, nasi kandar tax and everything. Smoking ada fine, banyak fine, harga smoking pun dah naik. Okay, so that is a form of disincentive. Coercion is, for example, kalau in regards to smoking, you tak boleh smoke dalam restaurant, you tak boleh smoke in public places. That is a form of coercion. Tapi when we talking about disincentives, yeah, you naikkan harga rokok tu, right? So this is a new concept. Alright, but in Malaysia we already apply this. Okay, tobacco consumption, overconsumption of alcohol, sugars, all involve some health costs for consumers. So when many people engage in such unhealthy behaviors, public health punya our scores is dropping. Yeah, Malaysia is the #1 country, one of the highest country with obesity in Asia. Okay, so perhaps this is something that we need to look at. Perlu apa? We need to have some intervention lah. Okay. Alright. Just now we have incentives, disincentives, which is quite simple to do. Yeah, incentive, if you are poor, you cannot do lah. Okay, but there's also another interesting technique that you can do. Okay, so it is called nudging. Okay, what is nudging? Dia macam compromise between public health goal and preserve the individual freedom. Okay, the concept of nudging is a way of you presenting the choices. Okay, you tak halang dia, you masih bagi dia choice, tapi in a different way, you present it in a different way. Okay. Okay, this is an example of nudging. Sorry, you nak change the healthy eating behavior in school children. Okay, you nak dia makan buah banyak-banyak, but I would say that kalau you bagi buah macam ni very boring looking and unappetizing versus this one, I would sure that all the school children will be eating this one. Yeah, semua akan berlumba-lumba untuk pergi kantin makan benda this. So this is example of nudging. You bagi them choice, dia boleh makan, dia boleh tak nak makan, but then you improve the appearance. okay, supaya nampak lebih sedap. This is some example. Another example is you bagi the choice juga, tapi their choice is limited. You cuma bagi choice untuk makan yang healthy saja. So sausage, nasi lemak, apa, donut, semua tu you remove from their menus, and they still have choice, but their choice is only to eat healthy eating. Okay. Alright. So another nudging concept that you are already familiar with is the concept of opt-in versus opt-out that you have learned during organ donation, issues in ethical donation, ethical issues in organ donation. Yang kita propose that we use the opt-out system so that lebih banyak orang derma organs, ya. So basically, countries that using opt-in system, the organ donation rate is low, okay, versus countries that has an opt-out system, the organ donation rate that is very high. So Malaysia is opt-in. Kalau you nak derma organ, you kena berikrar sebagai penderma organ. Okay, versus Singapore, semua rakyat dia is assumed as organ donor. Lahir je dekat dunia, automatic organ donor. Kalau you tak setuju untuk jadi organ donor, you opt out. Okay, you isi borang, you akan dikeluarkan dalam senarai nama penderma organ. Okay, so Singapore has a very small population compared to Malaysia, but their organ donation is higher compared to us. Okay, and this is based on the principles of opt-out. Okay, so dia bagi choice, you boleh derma, you boleh tak derma, tapi cara dia presented to you the option is different, and this is the concept of nudging. Alright, so it is not entirely coercive, it's just a different way of presenting the option, right? Okay, another concept that is very interesting, okay, like for example, you paksa dia do something, you coerce, but at the same time to soften the blow, you bagi compensation, ya. For example, you quarantine dia tapi you bagi dia some cash sebab dia tak boleh pergi kerja, ataupun you support dia in any way lah. Okay, this is number one, to ensure that they follow the rules without being so pressured lah. Okay, so for example in Singapore, ya, dia tak paksa orang ambil vaksin, okay, for COVID, and they are aware that people are afraid to take the vaccine. So what they do is they already passed the law. They want to encourage people to take the vaccine, and if you suffered from any side effects, they akan bayar ganti rugi to you. Okay, right, this is their law. Alright, jika you kena side effect that require hospitalization, you will be paid, ya, Singapore dollar 10,000. Okay, kalau you mati kerana vaksin tu, you akan dibayar 225,000. Okay, ataupun kalau tak mati, severe permanent disability. Okay, dia tak paksa you ambil vaksin, tapi kalau you kena side effect tu, they will compensate you. Okay, I guarantee berlumba-lumba orang akan pergi ambil vaksin. Okay, so if I go to Singapore also, I would pray I will get hospitalized from the vaccine. Okay, because I will get free money. Okay, this is how they compensate people, to convince people to get vaccinated. Okay, in Malaysia memang tak mampu lah. Alright. People who are quarantined or isolated, they are being compensated for any loss of income. Okay, so this is the concept of compensation. So kita nak kurangkan burden dia kepada individual. Okay, right, so kita nak promote duty of easy rescue lah. Okay, strengthening the ethical justification for a coercive policy. Okay, in Malaysia memang kita tak ada flat out bagi macam Singapore buat, tapi masa in the early phase of the first MCO, kerajaan ada offer banyak incentives, ya. Those who are quarantine boleh, yang B40 yang tak mampu nak duduk hotel mahal, kerajaan boleh sponsor. Okay, so that is some form of compensation. Okay, right, but countries yang first world, yang banyak duit, they can actually do even more. For example, in Japan, dia akan bayar you flat rate, dah stay for free, but you also get money for how many days you are quarantined. Alright, so that is the first lecture. Okay, we are on time. Okay, so basically this is the outcome that you should have. Okay, you should be able to generally boleh explain what is public health ethics. So public health ethics is a concept that mementingkan majority, mementingkan the public versus individual person, and based on this ethical argument, kita boleh breach of confidentiality. Kalau you suspected or you positive COVID, people will know you, so that contact tracing can be done. You can be isolated to prevent further spread of the disease. Okay, the moral theories behind public health ethics is utilitarianism. Okay, but there are also controversies in utilitarianism. Dia ada bias. Dia boleh have problems in human rights. Okay, and you should be able to apply the concepts in public health ethics lah, especially in healthcare policies. The old concept is on coercion, paksaan. The new concept is so creative now, boleh bagi compensation, incentives, disincentives, and also nudging. Okay, so that is the first lecture. So far, any questions? Okay, if tak ada, we tak ada. Alright, very straightforward. Lecture. Alright, I think we just if any
sorry,
questions.
Doctor.
Yeah.
I think I want to ask something. How do we choose between they choose between utilitarian and also deontology? What makes they choose utilitarian and what makes they choose deontology?
Okay, so
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. What make them choose utilitarian or deontology? Okay, because we are living in the modern world. Most of the modern countries are democracy, and democracy by nature is majority. You akan menang pilihan raya if majority of people vote for you. Okay, so in essence, it is automatic for a democratic country to choose a policy that would benefit the majority. That would be the utilitarianism. Okay, so automatically memang akan pilih utilitarianism. Okay, deontology memang has very limited application. Okay, memang kebanyakan kerajaan di dunia tidak akan pilih deontology, but it has very significant importance, especially in human rights. Okay, you boleh buat apa sahaja for using the utilitarian principles, tetapi ada had, you tak boleh enroach the human rights. Okay, so in terms of policy, macam sekarang memang the policy is using utilitarian principle, termasuklah for example like you guys have to come back to Sungai Buloh, alright, for classes. Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi has made the consideration, and they use their utilitarian principles lah, and they think that it is safe, so they try to predict the future. Tetapi most of the time it will not work. Okay, so that is technically that is what most of the public healthcare policy is. Alright, but unfortunately it can fail. Boleh.
Boleh, thank you, Doctor.
Alright, so utilitarian is the famous one. Okay, I would say it's the famous one, tetapi in medical ethics there is also another one that is also very famous. That is your 4 principles of biomedical ethics. Utilitarian dia nak beneficence kepada majority, but principles of biomedical ethics, yang 4 principles tu dia kata you memang nak prefer majority, tapi tak boleh buat, you nak benefit tapi tak boleh harm sangat. At the same time you kena respect autonomy, you kena kira justice juga. So principalism is also a famous one, and that will be, I think, discussed later on. Okay, in the next lecture. All right, if there is no other questions, we move on to the next lecture. Tapi before we move on, I would like to do some survey. All right, this is relevant to our lecture on global health ethics. All right, so this is a real question from a real doctor in Malaysia. So dia tanya, dear all, okay, if we treat pendatang asing tanpa izin at our clinic, will there be any legal issues that we may face? Okay, are we obliged to report to the authorities? Okay, so should we report? Yeah, ada party. Okay, so I would like to survey your opinion on this. Yeah, so ada satu soalan je, yes or no. So cuba jawab, and I give you 5 minutes. Boleh ke? We will continue at 2:50.
Okay.
Yeah, cuba jawab Alright. Pergi toilet kejap. 5 minit 2:50 kita start.